welcome to Kitchen Conversations. I am your host, Meaghan Dawson, coming to you from my kitchen. And I am here with Rich from the Heritage Table, coming to you from his bar area, which I kind of wish I was at the bar area right now, but we're still in quarantine and this is how we roll.
It's been my favorite part of the restaurant during this quarantine.
I'm not going to lie. I've partaken in some of your cocktails, so I understand. So, mine too. So today we're going to have some fun, and what we're going to do is Rich is going to walk me through the famous Heritage Table deviled eggs recipe, which he has assured me it's almost impossible to mess up deviled eggs.
Almost being the operative word.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe him, but I'm up to the challenge. So like we do on Kitchen Conversations, we're going to cook and we're going to chat, and we're going to start, because I did the prep work. First, we're going to start with my handy towel because I make a mess. That's why I always cook with that.
Are you really cooking if you're not making a mess?
No, my husband does the dishes, and he looks at the kitchen and just shakes his head. He just goes, "Ooh, in here," and I don't even know. That's the answer. I don't know. All right, so these are my egg yolks. I did my prep work, and I hard-boiled 6 eggs as per instructed. Now, Rich gave me a good little tip about this because mine aren't pretty and it was hard to peel. So tell everybody what the tip about this is.
Well, so to cut the eggs in half after they're hard-boiled, you want to use a paring knife that's as narrow, slim as possible. And dip it in water just to help it slide through the egg while you're slicing. And
Which
then
would have prevented some of the breakage.
It would, yeah, and it's okay if they break, if those break, because you're gonna be mashing those up pretty good here in a little bit anyway.
With my hand.
Yes.
So everybody's aware. So it's gonna be fun. Because I was like, a blender, and he was like, no, hands. This is the best.
Yeah. And you know, that's what people use for a really long time with their hands. So it works perfectly.
And you know what? This is quarantine cooking. We are back to basics. So I hard boiled and I scooped out my eggs, and he has assured me that it's okay that they kind of are popped because I didn't get a perfect hard boil. I didn't get a perfect peel on these. That's artesian. That's what we're gonna call it. All right, so walk me through, because I already dialed everything out and put it in their little bowls, but tell me what I'm gonna dump in.
Okay, you are going to first start by dumping in everything.
Everything. Okay, so I'll tell you what everything is.
Yes.
This is mayonnaise and Meaghan Mustard.
And at the Heritage Table, we make our mayonnaise in house.
That's a lot nicer than mine.
Oh, you know what? Like I said, these are going to taste great. We do it because we can, and there is a little quality difference. But one of the advantages I've always said about cooking everything you can from scratch is that you get to control just every little ingredient that goes in it. Yes. And so our mayonnaise, some people, when they make a mayo in house, they use a particular kind of olive oil, say. But I don't like an overly olivey mayonnaise, and so we use a couple different oils to make our mayonnaise, and we make it very thick. It's a very, very dense mayonnaise, just because I like holding it in shape. And sorry, I can tangentialize about everything. So
that's all right. This is Worcestershire. I'll never be able to say that word.
Okay. Here's an easy tip. It's from Worcester. So just say Worcester.
Shire. Is that a shire?
Yeah, it is. It's from the Shire of Worcestershire.
All right. And then this is sherry vinegar. Now, sherry vinegar might not be something that everybody has on their shelves in their pantry. I know I didn't. I had to dig into, as I told you, my secret Blue Apron unused condiment stash. Is there something that people at home could use if they didn't have sherry vinegar? Could they use?
I would say a closer approximation would be a red wine vinegar.
Oh, I do have that. A lot of people do have that on their shelves.
An apple cider vinegar might work. I would stay away from distilled white. I would stay away from balsamic.
Okay. Yeah, balsamic's heavy. Now, this is, I think, the most important one, though, you said. This is the acid. This is the lemon juice.
Well, the acid and the vinegar are
yeah, I don't even know. Is this an acid? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And true quarantine cooking form, I had to borrow this lemon from a neighbor because I didn't have any lemons. So this is what it's all about. So I dumped all that. I need salt, right?
Yes. Yes.
I never measure salt. Is that bad? This is my salt pig. He's an actual pig.
No, we are very precise about salt. And another.
I know. I'm impressed with your measurements. I'll tell everybody, when he sent me this recipe, he said he makes everybody in his kitchen use metric, which I think is brilliant, and my mind exploded. Luckily, he was nice enough to switch my regular measurements.
They're not terribly pleased about it, but the precision it allows really makes it far and away superior.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna hopefully distract ourselves from my mushing.
Yeah, I mean, unless I start commenting on your technique. So
while I'm mushing,
mm-hmm.
I want you to tell me, and I know you already kind of did, the Heritage Table story, because I like that it is not a straight line that got you there. I love when I hear how people get into the food industry. This is oddly satisfying. Just
well,
olive oil. Don't I have to put olive oil in there?
Yes.
Or is that for the top? Oh.
No, yeah, you need it. Yeah, there's olive oil. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. Hold on, let me wash my hands. But you go ahead and tell the story.
Now do be careful, because so basically with 6 egg yolks in there.
Yeah.
You've got about 100 grams of yolk, which means every time you wash your hands, you'll probably lose about 5 grams of it.
Okay. So how should I adjust this olive oil then? Because I think you wanted, I can't remember, for 12 double days.
Couple tablespoons, I think, was the conversion.
Yeah. So should I do like a little bit under 2 tablespoons, do you think?
There was a chef once that was talking to me as I was working in his kitchen, and I was cooking burgers for him. And he told me some words that I've passed on to a lot of people. Use the force.
Oh, goodness. I don't have the force, friends. We know this. Tell the story of the Heritage Table and how you got there, because I love this story.
Oh, it was not a straight line, as you mentioned. When I graduated from school, I worked as a sports writer in Temple, Texas, and did that for a few years. And while doing it,
it smells like deviled egg. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it better. While doing that, I kind of developed cooking as a hobby. It's something I picked up. There wasn't a whole lot to do in Temple that wasn't self-destructive for a 23-year-old sports writer.
Right.
And idle hands to the devil's workshop. So I had to figure out something to take up my time. And what I realized was that I like to eat well, and I was making sports writer money, so I didn't have the money to go out and eat well.
And in Temple, like you said, there's not too many, fine dining places you're going to go to anyway. Temple, in case our viewers don't know, I had to ask this. It's south of Waco. I asked that question, so now I know.
South of Waco and north of Austin. And I will say there are a couple places that I don't want all of Temple, in case anybody there sees this.
They're going to write in letters.
Yeah. I don't need any angry Yelp reviews from somebody in Temple who heard me bashing their hometown. But
okay, so real quick, let me interject. How do I know I have it the right consistency when it feels smooth?
Yeah, I will tell you, you probably don't yet.
Not yet?
Yeah, you want to get it super smooth.
Okay.
Right. But
stay with it. Go ahead.
while doing that, I took it up as a hobby, and it gradually became a passion. And for 2-3 years, just kept doing it, kept learning, dove in, learned as much as I could, and then eventually moved back to Dallas and started doing some PR work for a small company. And I love the job, but I was a writer. I just gotten out of writing every day for a living, and kind of wanted to keep doing that a little bit. And so I started a little online publication, and one of the things I did for it covered Dallas food in general.
Yeah.
One of the things I did for it was go into restaurants, ask the chef and the owner if I could basically stage there for a week or so, and then write a story from the perspective of somebody who really had no idea how professional kitchens worked.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't. So I think
No.
that's an interesting concept just in itself.
Sure. And for me, it was obviously life-changing, given where I am now. But it was an opportunity. My selfish desire was to see, okay, like how are the best of the best doing these things that I want to be able to do in my own kitchen someday. And what I realized was it's so much more than about the recipe. It's a whole culture.
Okay, so we're gonna get back to the Heritage Table story, but I was told you have a trick for piping, because my instinct would be to just take a spoon and drop this in there and it wouldn't look very pretty. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it's gonna look pretty anyway, but I'm gonna follow your advice. So I have here an unsnipped pastry bag that now has Worcestershire sauce on it. We'll just ignore that. And then the one that's snipped with the end. So tell me what I'm doing here.
Okay, first I'll also say you don't have a whole lot of filling, so you can probably take the top part of that bag off.
Just cut it?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah, because that'll basically just get in the way while you're trying to put the eggs in there.
Okay. So now I'm gonna take a big spoon and dump this in there.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be smooth and graceful, and it will work the first time, guaranteed.
Right. Did you see how I forgot olive oil and all the
Oh,
things?
that's great. That's great.
And I got to push it down there, right?
Yeah, you want to get it down there as much as you can.
Okay, so we're going to cut the bottom of the one that's filled.
Uh-huh. And now you can drop it into the one that has the piping tip on it.
Okay. I hope that the audience, all of our viewers, are learning as much as I am right now, because I feel like I have a new lease on piping.
What we do is kind of put 4 little dots like that onto the board. Now, you may not have enough, so it's a trick. I'm not saying do that with all 12, because you may run out of filling before you're able to fill any of them up. But what that does is that allows your deviled eggs to stay upright. You just kind of sink them into that filling, and so you kind of have it doesn't fall over.
I'm gonna just do that for 2 to start.
Yeah, just like that.
Pretty smart. Okay, so I put a little dot, and then I like glue my deviled egg to the board.
Yes.
Basically. Okay, got it.
Now, again, you gotta use the force here. I start. Let the piping bag touch the bottom of the egg. Let the tip top touch the bottom of the egg.
Okay.
Just kind of squeeze and slowly go up. Have you ever been to Jason's Deli or something like that that has a soft serve ice cream?
Yes.
Okay, think of it as soft serve ice cream. You know when you try? Great. It's beautiful.
I did.
What else could you want out of a deviled egg?
I don't know. Magic? I don't know. This is fabulous.
Are you feeling the pride?
I'm feeling the pride. Okay, so now while I fill these, I want to finish the story. So we were at the point where you were doing this kind of undercover writing about the restaurant world.
For somebody who knew nothing about cooking, I got to go into some ridiculous places it's great. That's
Where's
perfect.
the most ridiculous restaurant you got to write about?
Well, for a few reasons, it was the Grape, and Brian Lusher he was the chef and owner at the time. The Grape has since closed, which is a shame. It was just a beautiful restaurant, but it was about 6 months after they'd won the best burger in Texas. And here I was, this kid who'd never worked in a professional kitchen, and Brian Lusher had me work on the grill that Sunday. Sunday was the only day they served that burger.
Oh gosh.
It was an absolute madhouse, and it was so much fun. I can't say enough kind words about Brian Lusher and his wife Courtney. They're both people, but just letting me do that and having enough trust in someone he didn't know that well, and he was there the whole time. He wasn't like, yeah, I'm out there, see it. Like, he made sure I wasn't screwing up those burgers. But
still a lot of trust, because that's their star, like not ingredient, but that's their star menu item. So that is a lot of trust.
Yeah, it was. It was, you know, learning from experiences like that. I also worked at did a stage at a place called Lockhart Smoke. It's great.
I am running out of filling though. Somewhere along the way, I lost filling for the number of eggs I have. But as long as I get this many, everyone in my family will be happy. So you wrote and you had this, which is just a really cool thing for a young guy to do, to have this business that you kind of created from the ground up, that you could go into these restaurants and get kind of the bird's eye view and share that as a writer. But then that blossomed into a love of food that you couldn't let go. And that's kind of where Heritage starts.
It was. I didn't go with the intention of learning about how I was going to conduct my future business as a restaurant, but it was more like I'm writing about people who I think they're doing what I want to be doing for a living, and I started the Heritage Table, I guess, a few years after that, as a catering company in 2013. And it's a funny story. Our first catering event was for the Dallas Stars.
That's crazy. Talk about trust. Okay, I'm out. My icing is out, but then there's one more thing I have to put on the top, right? I got the paprika.
They're paprika and chives.
I don't have chives, so we're just gonna go with paprika.
That's okay. Yes.
Cookies.
I didn't mean to call it out like that.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm a terrible interviewer.
I mean, if you could see what my kitchen looks like right now in terms of supplies, I had to borrow a lemon. So this is where we are. Okay, so I'm going to be sprinkling my paprika, and then we're going to do our final display. But after we'll finish telling the story, after you kind of segued into the catering company, your first catering job was the Dallas Stars. How does one do that? Usually your first catering job.
Well, it was so we started out as we basically a barbecue trailer and a couple guys. It's perfect. And you mentioned, like, that's how your grandma did it with the paprika. Now, the heat is important, and your grandma's paprika, and to be honest, my mom's that she has in her cupboard for the past 20 years probably don't add much, just because they're old and a little stale. So you do want to, you know, even if you have crushed red pepper, you can kind of grind it.
Oh yeah.
And get powder out of it. You do just want to skosh, which is slightly more than a smidge of heat.
So we borrowed our grandmother's paprika and our grandmother's words. It's fine.
Right, yeah, exactly. We don't call ourselves the Heritage Table for nothing.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the trailer.
So yeah, and you know, through a couple connections, you know, a friend of a brother knew the owner of a place called Pete's Piano Bar.
Oh yeah.
And they said, we have this event coming up. You know, we need a caterer for it. Would you like to do it? I said, well, yeah, who's it for? And they said, well, it's the Dallas Stars Halloween party.
No pressure.
Oh yeah, whatever. Like Tyler Sagan, Jamie Benn. Like, I listen to these guys play on the radio every 3 nights a week. So we did it, and Corey, his name, at Pete's, called me back the next day, and he said, that's the best response we've ever had for the food at any of our parties. Would you like to take over our kitchen?
Yeah.
Serve our guests on Friday and Saturday night with the Heritage Table food, and then you can use that as your catering kitchen. And I said, yeah, I'd like that a lot.
Yeah. You're not going to turn that down. No way.
Right. And it turned out for the next couple of years we did that. It was a fantastic opportunity for me to kind of get myself acclimated to running a business out of the kitchen, while also not having to commit to where we are now, which is a 3,500 square foot, seats 120 people establishment.
It's kind of like getting in the kiddie pool before you go off the diving board.
Exactly what it was. Somewhere between catering and owning a restaurant.
Yeah.
Other than feeding people, have very little in common. They're very, very different animals. so yeah, and we opened up in 2017 here, April in 2017. The first 6 months were insane.
Yeah.
It was drinking from a fire hose. It was, to put kindly, an educational experience.
Sure.
Yeah, it was, the learning curve was steep. But since then, we've sort of refined what we do. I've been able to refine my vision for what the restaurant is. And one of the nice things about owning the restaurant is I can make those changes when I want to. And by and large, the vast majority of our guests have really enjoyed the changes that we've made.
Right.
And particularly with this new one, I hope that trend continues.
Well, we can talk about that now, because the quarantine and going into social distancing changed everything about the ball game. So you went from being able to have a packed restaurant, count on those tables, count on your patio, which is, I've told you this before, it's my husband and I love to come to the patio and have dinner. I think it's one of the best spots in Frisco. And you went from that to, oh no, now we can't. But you doubled down, and I think you were very smart because you did what you do best, and it was creative. So tell us a little bit about that, and then I'm going to try a deviled egg.
So when we shut our doors, and again that was the right move. When we shut our doors, we had to keep producing food. It was, we wanted to keep providing what we do to the people who want heritage table food.
Right.
But the dishes we were preparing, they didn't translate well to carry out. I didn't like the idea of people getting. Yeah.
Heritage meals are an experience. It's not just, I'm going to pop this in a styrofoam and bring it home. Right. It's an experience. Right. So I think that was smart to kind of have to pivot a little.
Thank you. And it's one of those things, you put a steak in a styrofoam container, it's going to overcook when it gets there. You put our short rib in a plastic container, and it's not going to look great after that whole big jostle in the car.
Right.
But with what we do, with the scratch cooking, with all that, I kind of noticed in the beginning, at least, people would stockpile. The meat shelves were empty.
Yes.
And I said, okay, well, we have meat. We have meat we need to use, and we make great cured meats. We turn brisket into pastrami. We turn pork bellies into bacon and pork butt into sausage. Why don't we sell those ingredients to people who now have to cook at home, regardless if they want to eat out or not?
Yes. It was like completely changing to that deli mode and giving people what they know and love about Heritage Table in a different fashion.
It was, and it basically meant we did what we always do. We just stopped a step short of plating it, putting it on our plate, and taking that to the guest. We gave them the ingredients that we make here, rather than turning those ingredients into a prepared dish.
Right.
And honestly, it's something, it's something I'd love to do in the future as an actual shop. I would love to have a deli and market and do that as well.
Well, I hope it never goes away completely, because I think people did kind of come to love taking that bacon home for their Sunday morning, breakfast or special occasion. The cinnamon rolls, I know, were a huge hit across the board. And you could also order his deviled eggs, just not my eggs, but
they look great.
You never know, you might get these if you ordered them. I'm going to let my official, very, very professional taste tester taste one of the Meaghan Dawson Heritage Table deviled eggs here.
Should I be nervous?
Because we typically get them on Easter, and my mother-in-law makes them, and we didn't get them this year because it was all, everything was very different. So she's a professional. Go ahead, Ken's, pick one. Nailed it. She's
awesome.
A customer. She's a customer.
I feel like I was more nervous than I should have been.
It would have been. She's very honest too. I will tell you. She would have said, "Yeah, did not nail it, Mom. Did not." All right, give me a high five. Thank you. Obviously, you know this. I'm a huge Heritage Table fan. I am now certified deviled egg, Heritage Table deviled egg maker. So if you need someone, someone calls out sick, just let me know. I'll be there.
I've actually got an embossed certificate that I'm sending to you that's certifying that you know how to make the deviled egg.
I'm gonna frame it. I am for sure. But before we go, tell everyone how they can make their reservations to come when you open up. How can they find you?
Well, you can call us. Our phone number's on our website.
We'll drop that down below, so you don't even have to look for it.
Awesome. And if you go to OpenTable, that's the reservation software that we use. There may not be reservations available for the night you want to be there, just because we are 4 tables only and reservation only.
Right.
But they will have, if there are tables available, OpenTable will have it. Or like I said, you can give us a call and get all set up.
Well, I think everybody understands right now that they have to have grace on restaurants because of the way we're being forced to open up. I will tell you personally, one time my husband and I were down in Dallas and we were there for an event and we were driving back and I said, I really want to go to Heritage Table. And so I called and it was like 7:30. I mean, it was not early. I called and they made a spot for us. It was like a blink of an eye. We didn't feel like we were inconveniencing anyone. So if you don't see it on OpenTable and you call them, they will try and find a way to get you in. They're incredible people. So just have grace, be kind. We all need to be kind, wash your hands, do all the things. Thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so excited to go now dole out the deviled eggs to the rest of the people in my family who haven't popped by. And I cannot wait to share your story. Huge fan. We're so glad you're here in Frisco. Everybody, go visit the Heritage Table. Tell him Meaghan sent you. He'll treat you good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meaghan. It was a blast.